Hi friends, my name is Sara Porkalob, my pronouns are she and her, and I'm speaking to you from the unceded territories of the Coast Salish and Duwamish people, otherwise known as the City of Seattle. Happy AAPI History Month. I am a multi-hyphenate storyteller working primarily in theater, soon to be working in television and film. I am Filipina, Chinese, Hawaiian American, and I'm so excited to be here talking with you. So yeah, let's get started. 1994, Anchorage, Alaska, Willowa Elementary School. I'm 5 years old, staring back at the wide eyes of my kindergarten classmates while my new teacher struggles to pronounce my last name. Okay, class, good morning. I'd love to introduce to you our new student, Sara Porkalob. She's from Washington. Teacher, I've been to Washington, D.C. That's great, Daniel. Thank you so much for sharing that. But Sara is actually from Washington State. Sara, why don't you go take a seat over at the dolphin table? Let's give her a warm Willowa welcome. I sit at the dolphin table, which coincidentally was my favorite mammal at the time, and I am relieved to see that my seatmates are 2 brown girls, 2 black girls, and they all smile at me. I smile back. Even at the age of 5, I knew what racism was. I saw how white folks looked at me and my black mom Tina while we went about our weekly grocery shopping, and how the Chinese clerk would follow her around suspiciously while we perused the aisles for my Filipino mother's favorite brand of chips. As soon as I was aware of thinking thoughts, about the age of 4, I preferred the company of people who looked like me and my family, black and brown folks. With them, I felt safe. With white folks, not so much. Fast forward to 2011, my senior year of liberal arts school. I'm a theater major, and we're having auditions for the senior class productions. There's 3 plays. There's Oobla-Dee by Regina Taylor, the black play. There's El Paso Blue by Octavio Solis, the Latino play. And then there's Pride and Prejudice, the cast everyone else in this play because the cast is so big production. A faculty member signed me up to audition for Oobla-Dee, even though the cast was supposed to be entirely black. She did it because I could sing, and the show required singing actors. So that was reason enough for her. And at the time, that was reason enough for me to audition. So I did. I ended up being cast in Pride and Prejudice and being called out and called in by my black classmates. I didn't know it at the time, but I discovered that while I had been invited to audition for all 3 plays, they had been invited to audition for only Oobla-Dee, the black play. That realization brought home some very uncomfortable truths for me and marked a shift in my way of thinking and being as a woman of color in white supremacist America. I didn't know this at the time, but up until that moment, I had a sense of entitlement to black spaces, black culture, and I felt like I had unrestricted access to speak on black issues because of my upbringing in black communities with a black parent. I was also unaware of the privileges that I held as a non-black, non-indigenous, cis, able-bodied woman of color. This was emotionally difficult for me to be confronted with because it felt like part of my identity was being stripped from me. I reacted with how can I be anti-black if I love black people? How is it possible that I'm racist if I'm a person of color? Am I not allowed to like the things that I like, to have the relationships I have, to enjoy the company of my peers, etc., etc.? I had an emotional upheaval response. And fortunately, I had people in my community and family that I could process my emotions with in an accountable way. These folks helped me realize that my previous ways of thinking were anti-black, oppressive, and yes, racist. They also helped me realize that I could use my privileges to educate other Asian American Pacific Islanders on the underlying anti-black racism and internalized white supremacy that exists within our culture. I can love and appreciate black people and black culture, and use the privileges I have to fight and dismantle white supremacy. The Senate recently passed the Stop Asian Hate Crimes bill with bipartisan support, actually. And a lot of Asian Americans are applauding this bill, but I personally believe that this legislation is more harmful than it is helpful for these reasons. The bill centers policing as the answer. It expedites the review of these hate crimes within the Justice Department and provides funding for local law enforcement training regarding how they handle hate crimes investigations. So why is increased policing not the answer? Okay, historically, the police prosecute Black and brown people disproportionately, as demonstrated by the killings in Fort Wayne and Atlanta. When a white person murders Asian people, the police and the media often remove the racially motivated aspect and call it senseless violence. But when a Black or brown person harms an Asian person, there is a quick public call for carceral and policing approaches to stop anti-Asian violence. Some Asian Americans even believe that Black and brown people are the enemy and not white supremacy. Without a deep political analysis of our carceral system, we end up just re-articulating the status quo, which is harmful, racist, oppressive, anti-Black. This new bill bolsters the police state, which does not keep Black and brown people safe. And it contains underlying anti-Black sentiments in the name of fighting anti-Asian violence. So, while we all celebrate AAPI month, I encourage all of my fellow AAPI folks to remember that our liberation is tied directly to the liberation of Black folks, to the liberation of POC folks, to the liberation of queer, trans, non-binary folks, to the liberation of disabled folks, to immigrants, and that we all collectively must do the work required to dismantle and replace white supremacy. The work looks differently on each of us, but now is the time. Happy AAPI month. Go eat some of your favorite food.